Thank you for visiting the Miltenberger Law Offices YouTube channel and our website. We are a proven criminal defense law firm in Nebraska, with over 1,000 cases handled and over 12 years of combined legal experience. Our firm has created these audio articles to help educate you on your rights, protect your freedom, and help you achieve the best solution for the charges you are facing. If we are hired for your case, we will never back down, no matter the odds. Murder lawyer in Omaha, Nebraska. Few criminal accusations in Omaha carry consequences as devastating as a murder charge. One allegation can change every part of your life overnight. You may be arrested without warning. Your home may be searched. Your phone may be seized. Your family may suddenly find themselves answering questions from investigators, friends, and reporters. Meanwhile, law enforcement is working to build a case against you. Interviews, surveillance footage, text messages, forensic testing. Everything may become part of the investigation. If you have been arrested for murder or believe you may be under investigation, you cannot assume prosecutors already know the complete story. They may have witness statements. They may have physical evidence. They may already have a theory about what happened. But a theory is not the same as proof. At Miltenberger Law Offices, we represent people accused of the most serious criminal offenses in Omaha and across Nebraska. We investigate the facts, examine the prosecution's evidence, challenge unreliable conclusions, and prepare every case with the possibility of trial in mind. Call 402-217-2267 or contact us online for a free, confidential consultation with an experienced Omaha murder defense lawyer. The earlier a strong defense begins, the more opportunity there may be to preserve evidence, prevent damaging mistakes, and protect your constitutional rights. Understanding murder charges in Nebraska. Not every homicide is murder, and not every death results in criminal charges. Homicide is a broad term describing one person causing the death of another. Murder is a specific form of criminal homicide that requires prosecutors to prove particular elements under Nebraska law. Depending on the circumstances, a death investigation may lead to allegations involving first-degree murder. Nebraska Revised Statutes, Section 28-303. Felony murder, second-degree murder. Nebraska Revised Statute, Section 28-304. Homicide, Nebraska Revised Statute, Section 28-302. Manslaughter, Nebraska Revised Statute, Section 28-305. Motor vehicle homicide, Nebraska Revised Statute, Section 28-306. These offenses are not interchangeable. They involve different mental states, different theories of responsibility, and dramatically different potential penalties. When someone is accused of murder, the prosecution must prove more than the fact that another person died. It must prove the specific type of murder alleged beyond a reasonable doubt. You do not have to prove your innocence. The burden belongs to the government from beginning to end. First-degree murder in Nebraska. First-degree murder is the most serious homicide offense prosecuted under Nebraska law. Under Nebraska Revised Statute Section 28-303, a person may be charged with first-degree murder under several theories, including allegations of a deliberate and premeditated killing or a death occurring during certain qualifying felonies. In a premeditated murder case, prosecutors generally claim the accused intentionally killed another person after forming the decision to do so. Premeditation does not necessarily require weeks or months of planning. Prosecutors may argue that the intent to kill existed for only a brief period before the death. That makes the surrounding circumstances extremely important. To support an allegation of premeditation, the prosecution may point to threats or statements allegedly made before the incident, communications between the accused and the deceased, internet searches or purchase records, efforts to obtain or conceal a weapon, cell phone and location data, surveillance footage, conduct immediately before or after the death, the nature and location of the injuries. Most of this evidence is circumstantial. That does not make it meaningless, but it does mean the prosecution is asking a jury to draw conclusions from surrounding facts. The defense must determine whether those conclusions are reliable. A search may be unrelated. A message may be taken out of context. A purchase may have an innocent explanation. Conduct portrayed as evidence of planning may reflect fear, confusion, or something else entirely. First-degree murder cases often turn on whether the state can prove not only that the accused caused the death, but that the required intent and premeditation actually existed. Felony murder in Nebraska. A person does not always have to be accused of planning or intending a death to face first-degree murder charges. Under Nebraska's felony murder rule, prosecutors may pursue a murder charge when a person dies during the commission or attempted commission of certain serious felonies. The prosecution's theory may involve an underlying offense such as robbery, burglary, kidnapping, arson, sexual assault, another felony specifically identified by Nebraska law. Felony murder cases in Omaha become especially complicated when multiple people are accused of participating in the underlying offense. One person may be alleged to have carried a weapon. Another may be accused of driving. Someone else may claim they never expected violence to occur. Prosecutors may still attempt to hold several people responsible for the same death through theories of aiding and abetting or accomplice liability. That does not mean every participant automatically shares the same criminal responsibility. The defense must examine whether the underlying felony can be proven, whether the accused knowingly participated, the accused person's actual role, whether the death was legally connected to the alleged felony, whether the prosecution is improperly attributing another person's actions to the accused. Separating one person's conduct from the actions of co-defendants can become one of the most important parts of a felony murder defense. Second-degree murder in Nebraska. Second-degree murder does not require the same showing of deliberate premeditation as first-degree murder. Under Nebraska Revised Statute Section 28-304, prosecutors generally must prove that the accused intentionally caused another person's death without premeditation. These allegations may arise from incidents involving physical confrontations, domestic disputes, firearm incidents, bar or nightclub altercations, drug-related conflicts, arguments that suddenly became violent. The absence of premeditation does not make the charge minor. Second-degree murder remains an extraordinarily serious felony carrying the possibility of decades in prison. Intent is often the central issue. Did the accused intend to cause death? Was the conduct intentional but directed toward some other result? Was the death accidental? Did the accused act in self-defense? Could the evidence support manslaughter rather than murder? The answers depend on what happened before, during, and immediately after the incident. What must prosecutors prove in an Omaha murder case? A serious accusation does not lower the government's burden of proof. Prosecutors must establish every required element beyond a reasonable doubt. Depending on the charge, that may require proof of the identity of the person responsible, the death of another person, a legally sufficient connection between the accused person's conduct and the death, the mental state required for the particular murder offense. Premeditation, when alleged, the commission of a qualifying felony in a felony murder case. Every element matters. The government may have strong evidence on one issue and serious weaknesses on another. For example, there may be no dispute that a death occurred, yet substantial doubt about who caused it. The accused may have been present, but presence alone does not necessarily prove participation. Physical evidence may connect someone to a location without establishing criminal intent. A statement may appear damaging until the full interview is reviewed. An effective murder defense in Omaha tests each part of the prosecution's case separately, rather than accepting its overall narrative at face value. How murder investigations are conducted in Omaha. Murder investigations often begin long before an arrest. Law enforcement may spend days, weeks, or months gathering evidence, interviewing witnesses, executing search warrants, and building a timeline. Different agencies and specialists may participate, including Omaha police detectives, crime scene technicians, medical examiners, forensic laboratory personnel, firearms examiners, digital forensic analysts, state or federal investigators, prosecutors advising law enforcement. Investigators typically begin with the scene itself. They photograph and document the area, collect physical evidence, identify potential witnesses, and determine whether cameras or electronic devices may have recorded relevant activity. They may then seek warrants for homes, vehicles, phones, online accounts, financial records, or location data. Witnesses may be interviewed more than once. Investigators compare those statements with video, forensic results, phone records, and other evidence to create a theory of the case. But the initial theory can influence everything that follows. Once investigators identify a suspect, they may begin interpreting ambiguous evidence through that lens. Information that supports the theory receives attention. Contradictory evidence may be minimized, dismissed, or overlooked. That is one reason an independent defense investigation matters. The defense should not merely reread police reports. It should examine how conclusions were reached, what assumptions were made, and what evidence may be missing. Evidence commonly used in Nebraska murder prosecutions. Murder cases are rarely built on a single piece of evidence. Prosecutors usually combine physical, testimonial, medical, and digital evidence to support their theory. Each category presents different questions for the defense. DNA and biological evidence. DNA evidence can help identify whose biological material was found on an object or at a location. It does not always explain how or when that material arrived there. A DNA result may require closer examination when the accused had a legitimate reason to be at the location. The item was commonly handled by several people. The sample contained a mixture of multiple individuals' DNA. The quantity of material was extremely small. Secondary transfer may have occurred. Collection or laboratory procedures created contamination concerns. The statistical strength of a DNA result may also be different from the prosecution's characterization of what the evidence proves. Firearms and ballistic evidence. When a shooting is alleged, investigators may examine firearms, bullets, cartridge casings, gunshot residue, trajectories, and alleged tool mark similarities. Prosecutors may argue that a recovered firearm fired a particular bullet or casing. The defense may examine how the weapon was discovered, whether it can be connected to the accused, how the evidence was stored and tested, the limits of the examiner's conclusions, whether another weapon could have produced similar markings, whether trajectory evidence supports the prosecution's account. Forensic opinions should not be treated as unquestionable simply because they are presented as science. Autopsy and medical evidence. The medical examiner may offer opinions about the cause and manner of death, the nature of the injuries, and a possible time frame. Those findings can become central to the prosecution's timeline. They may also raise disputed questions involving the sequence in which injuries occurred, the position of the people involved, whether an injury was immediately fatal, whether medical treatment affected the outcome, the estimated time of death, whether the physical findings support self-defense or accident. An independent medical review may reveal limitations or alternative explanations that are not obvious from the initial report. Cell phones and digital evidence. Modern murder investigations often involve enormous amounts of digital information. Investigators may seek access to text messages, call records, social media accounts, email accounts, search history, photographs and videos, GPS or location data, cloud storage, fitness trackers, smart home devices. Digital evidence can help establish a timeline, but interpretation still matters. A phone's location may not establish who possessed it. A message may be sarcasm, exaggeration, or part of a longer conversation. A search may have occurred for reasons unrelated to the alleged crime. Deleted data may not mean someone attempted to conceal evidence. The defense must examine both the technical accuracy of the extraction and the context of the information recovered. Eyewitness identification. Eyewitness testimony can be persuasive. It can also be wrong. Memory is affected by stress, fear, poor lighting, distance, distraction, intoxication, the presence of a weapon, and the passage of time. Identification procedures can also influence a witness. The defense may review the witness's original description, how long the witness observed the person, lighting and visibility, whether the witness had consumed alcohol or drugs, how photographs or lineups were presented, whether investigators gave conscious or unconscious cues, changes between the witness's earlier and later statements. A confident witness is not necessarily an accurate witness. Surveillance and recorded video. Businesses, homes, doorbell cameras, traffic systems, and parking lots may capture portions of an alleged offense or the events surrounding it. Video can support the defense as easily as it can support the prosecution, but a recording rarely captures everything. The relevant event may begin before the clip starts. Important conduct may occur outside the camera's field of view. The image may be too dark or distant to support a reliable identification. The time displayed on the recording may also be inaccurate. Video should be evaluated as one part of the full timeline, not as an isolated moment. Statements and recorded interviews. Investigators often tell people they want to hear their side of the story. In reality, a police interview is an evidence-gathering tool. Detectives may repeat questions, challenge answers, reveal selected evidence, make accusations, or suggest that cooperation will help. Even a truthful person can make inconsistent statements when frightened, exhausted, confused, or confronted with information they have never seen. The defense should review the entire recording, not merely the detective's summary, to determine whether constitutional rights were honored, whether the statement was voluntary, whether investigators used misleading tactics, whether answers were taken out of context, whether the accused adopted facts first supplied by detectives, whether the written report accurately reflects the interview. Common defenses to Omaha murder charges. There is no single defense that applies to every murder case. The right strategy depends on the charge, the available evidence, and what actually happened. Self-defense. Nebraska law may permit a person to use force when they reasonably believe it is immediately necessary to protect themselves from unlawful force. When deadly force is involved, the circumstances receive intense scrutiny. A self-defense claim may require examination of who initiated the confrontation, whether the threat was immediate, whether a weapon was displayed or used, differences in size, strength, or numbers, previous threats or violence, the location and nature of the injuries, what witnesses could actually see. The fact that someone died does not eliminate the right to defend yourself. The question is whether the use of force was legally justified under the circumstances. Defense of another person. A person may also act to protect someone else from an imminent threat. These cases often depend on what the accused reasonably believed was happening at that moment, not on facts learned later. Video, witness testimony, prior threats, and the physical evidence may help show why intervention appeared necessary. Accidental death. A tragic death is not automatically murder. If the act was accidental, prosecutors may be unable to prove the intent required for first- or second-degree murder. The defense may use medical evidence, reconstruction, witness accounts, or expert analysis to explain how the death occurred without an intent to kill. Mistaken identity or alibi. Sometimes the wrong person is accused. The prosecution may rely on an uncertain identification, a vague description, disputed phone data, or an informant attempting to protect themselves. An alibi defense may be supported by surveillance recordings, receipts and transaction records, employment records, location history, vehicle data, photographs, independent witnesses. The defense must test whether the government can place the accused at the scene and prove they were the person responsible. Lack of intent or premeditation. A person may be accused of causing a death without having intended that result, or the evidence may support an impulsive act rather than a premeditated one. Those distinctions can determine whether the evidence supports first-degree murder, second-degree murder, manslaughter, or no criminal homicide at all. The defense may challenge the prosecution's interpretation of threats, messages, conduct, motive, and events surrounding the death. Unreliable witnesses or false accusations. Witnesses may be mistaken. They may also have reasons to lie. A cooperating witness may hope to avoid charges, obtain a reduced sentence, collect reward money, or shift suspicion away from themselves. Credibility analysis may involve comparing multiple versions of the witness's story, identifying facts that changed over time, examining benefits offered by prosecutors, reviewing prior relationships and personal conflicts, comparing the testimony with objective evidence. A witness's accusation should not be accepted without examining what that person stands to gain or lose. Unreliable or mishandled forensic evidence. Forensic evidence depends on human decisions at every stage. Someone collects it, someone labels it, someone stores it, someone performs the test, someone interprets the result. A breakdown at any point may affect reliability. The defense may challenge contamination, incomplete testing, unsupported conclusions, broken chain of custody, laboratory error, or the use of a method that cannot support the certainty claimed by the prosecution. Constitutional violations. Murder investigations in Omaha and anywhere in Nebraska remain subject to the Constitution. Police cannot lawfully search a home, vehicle, phone, or account without proper legal authority. They must honor a person's right to remain silent and right to counsel. Potential violations may involve a search conducted without a valid warrant or exception, a warrant based on misleading or insufficient information, a search that exceeded the warrant's authorized scope, continued interrogation after the accused invoked the right to counsel, an involuntary or coerced statement, an unduly suggestive identification procedure. When evidence is obtained unlawfully, the defense may ask the court to suppress it. The loss of that evidence can significantly change the prosecution's case. Failure to prove the case beyond a reasonable doubt. A defense does not require proving exactly what happened. The accused does not carry that burden. If the prosecution's evidence is contradictory, incomplete, unreliable, or based on speculation, the government may be unable to prove guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. Suspicion is not enough. Neither is a theory that leaves serious unanswered questions. Resources for murder defendants and their families in Nebraska. A murder investigation can leave defendants and their families searching for reliable information about Nebraska law, court proceedings, incarceration, and criminal records. The following official resources may help you better understand the agencies and laws involved. Nebraska Revised Statute Section 28-303. The Nebraska statute defining first-degree murder, including premeditated murder and deaths allegedly occurring during certain qualifying felonies. Nebraska Revised Statute Section 28-304. The statute defining second-degree murder as intentionally causing another person's death without premeditation. Nebraska Criminal Code Online Database. Chapter 28 contains Nebraska's criminal statutes, including homicide offenses, defenses, weapons laws, and other crimes that may become relevant in a murder prosecution. Nebraska Judicial Branch website provides information about Nebraska courts, court rules, appellate decisions, forms, and the structure of the state judicial system. Douglas County Clerk of the District Court website provides court filing, case processing, record, payment, and courthouse information for matters handled in Douglas County District Court. Nebraska State Patrol website. Nebraska's statewide law enforcement agency provides information about investigations, public records, criminal history records, and other public safety services. Nebraska Department of Correctional Services website offers information about Nebraska correctional facilities, incarcerated person searches, visitation, mail, victim services, and re-entry programs. Can murder charges be reduced or dismissed in Omaha? Yes, but the possibility depends on the facts and legal issues in the case. Murder charges may be reduced or dismissed when the evidence does not support the required intent. Premeditation cannot be proven. A key witness changes their account or becomes unreliable. Forensic testing contradicts the prosecution's theory. Evidence is suppressed because of a constitutional violation. The government cannot prove identity or causation. Evidence supports self-defense, accident, or another lawful explanation. In some cases, the dispute concerns the proper level of homicide offense. Evidence that does not support first-degree murder may still lead prosecutors to pursue second-degree murder or manslaughter. In others, the appropriate objective may be a complete dismissal or acquittal. Plea negotiations are one possible part of a defense strategy. They are not the only part. A murder defense lawyer in Omaha must evaluate the risks of trial, the strength of the evidence, available motions, possible lesser offenses, sentencing exposure, and the client's goals before recommending a course of action. Penalties for murder in Nebraska. Nebraska imposes some of its harshest criminal penalties for murder convictions. Offense: first-degree murder. Nebraska Statute, Section 28-303. Classification: Class 1 or Class 1A felony. Potential penalty: a Class 1 felony may be punishable by death. A Class 1, a felony, is punishable by life imprisonment. Offense: second-degree murder. Nebraska Statute, Section 28-304. Classification: Class 1B felony. Potential penalty: 20 years to life imprisonment. The sentence is only one part of what may be at stake. A murder conviction may also result in a permanent felony record, loss of firearm rights, loss of voting or other civil rights as provided by law, immigration consequences for non-citizens, loss of professional licenses, severe employment and housing barriers, civil wrongful death litigation, long-term harm to family relationships and reputation. The consequences can begin before a conviction. A person may remain in custody, lose employment, face public scrutiny, and experience significant family disruption while the case is still pending. What to do if you are under investigation for murder in Omaha? You do not have to be arrested to need an Omaha defense lawyer. If detectives want to speak with you, witnesses say police have been asking about you, or investigators have searched your property, assume the situation is serious. Do not answer questions without an attorney. You have the right to remain silent. Use it clearly and politely. You can say, "I am exercising my right to remain silent. I want to speak with an attorney." Do not attempt to explain your way out of the situation. Even truthful statements can be misunderstood, contradicted by incomplete evidence, or used to lock you into a timeline before you know what investigators are alleging. Do not consent to searches. Police may ask to search your phone, vehicle, home, or online accounts. You do not have to consent merely because they ask. Do not physically interfere with officers, especially if they present a warrant. State that you do not consent and contact an Omaha criminal defense lawyer as soon as possible. Preserve evidence. Do not delete messages, discard devices, alter social media accounts, or destroy anything connected to the investigation. That conduct can eliminate evidence that helps the defense and may lead to additional allegations. Preserve potentially useful information, including messages and call logs, photographs and videos, receipts, location records, names of potential witnesses, threats or prior communications, medical records. Do not contact witnesses or co-defendants. Attempts to clear things up may be interpreted as intimidation, coordination, or an effort to influence testimony. Let your attorney determine whether and how witnesses should be contacted. Do not discuss the case on recorded lines. Jail calls are commonly recorded. Conversations in police vehicles, interview rooms, and courthouse holding areas may also be monitored. Do not discuss the facts of the case with friends, relatives, other inmates, or anyone other than your lawyer. Contact a murder defense attorney immediately. Early representation allows your murder defense team in Omaha to begin working while evidence is still available and witnesses' memories are fresh. An Omaha murder defense attorney may also communicate with detectives, respond to interview requests, review warrants, and help prevent avoidable mistakes. Frequently asked questions about murder charges in Omaha. What is the difference between murder and homicide? Answer. Homicide broadly refers to one person causing another person's death. Murder is a particular criminal homicide offense involving specific legal elements. Other homicide offenses include manslaughter and motor vehicle homicide. What is the difference between first-degree and second-degree murder in Nebraska? Answer. First-degree murder may involve a deliberate and premeditated killing or a death occurring during certain qualifying felonies. Second-degree murder generally involves an intentional killing without premeditation. Can I face murder charges in Omaha if I did not personally cause the death? Answer. Possibly. Felony murder and aiding and abetting theories may allow prosecutors to pursue charges against a person accused of participating in an underlying crime. The person's actual knowledge, conduct, and role remain critical issues. Can self-defense defeat a murder charge? Answer. Yes. When the use of force was legally justified, self-defense may provide a complete defense. The outcome depends on the perceived threat, the immediacy of the danger, and whether the response was reasonable under the circumstances. Can murder charges be dismissed before trial? Answer. They can. A dismissal may follow insufficient evidence, suppression of important evidence, witness problems, forensic results, or another legal development that prevents the government from proving the charge. Does every Omaha murder case go to trial? Answer. No. Some cases are dismissed. Some are resolved through negotiations. Others proceed to a jury. The decision depends on the evidence, potential defenses, sentencing exposure, and the client's objectives. Can the police search my phone in a murder investigation? Answer. Police generally need valid legal authority, such as a search warrant or recognized exception, to search a phone without consent. The warrant's basis and scope may later be challenged. Can DNA evidence be wrong? Answer. DNA testing can be highly probative, but errors and interpretation disputes are possible. Contamination, mixtures, secondary transfer, collection problems, and overstated conclusions may all affect what the result actually proves. What if an eyewitness identifies me? Answer. An identification is evidence, not automatic proof of guilt. The defense can examine the viewing conditions, the witness's original description, the identification procedure, prior inconsistencies, and whether other evidence supports the identification. Should I attend a voluntary police interview? Answer. No, not without first consulting an Omaha defense lawyer. Voluntary does not mean harmless. Investigators may already view you as a suspect and intend to use your answers as evidence. Can I receive bond in an Omaha murder case? Answer. Bond and pretrial release depend on the charge, the alleged facts, criminal history, community ties, public safety concerns, and the court's findings. Release is not guaranteed. How long can a murder case take? Answer. Complex murder cases may continue for months or longer. Forensic testing, expert review, discovery, pretrial motions, witness issues, and trial preparation can all affect the timeline. Why choose Miltenberger Law for murder defense in Omaha, Nebraska? A murder defense in Omaha cannot be built from assumptions. It requires careful preparation. At Miltenberger Law, we examine how the investigation was conducted, what the evidence actually proves, and where the prosecution's theory may break down. Depending on the case, that work may include reviewing police reports, recordings, photographs, and discovery, analyzing search warrants and interrogation procedures, comparing witness statements for contradictions, examining forensic laboratory methods and conclusions, consulting qualified experts when appropriate, investigating evidence that supports self-defense, alibi, accident, or another defense, preparing motions to suppress unlawfully obtained evidence, developing a trial strategy based on the facts rather than the accusation. The prosecution may have investigators, laboratories, and experts working on its behalf. Your defense deserves focused preparation as well. We understand the seriousness of the accusation and the effect it can have on your freedom, your family, and your future. Speak with a Miltenberger Law Omaha murder lawyer right away. If you have been arrested for murder or believe you are under investigation in Omaha or anywhere across Nebraska, do not wait for the government to complete its case before seeking help. Early action may allow your murder defense attorney to preserve evidence, communicate with investigators, identify important witnesses, and protect you from making statements that could later be used against you. Miltenberger Law represents clients facing first-degree murder, felony murder, second-degree murder, and other serious homicide allegations in Omaha and across Nebraska. Call 402-217-2267 or contact us online to schedule a free case review with an Omaha murder defense lawyer. When the consequences may last a lifetime, every decision matters. Miltenberger Law Offices is a leading criminal defense law firm serving the entire state of Nebraska. We are headquartered in Omaha and serve Douglas County, Lancaster County, Lincoln, Sarpy County, and all of Nebraska. We look forward to helping you with your criminal defense attorney needs.